Hey YouTube, how you doing? This is Real Talk, and I'm coming to you with a new episode. And in this particular episode, I'm going to go ahead and switch up a little bit because it seems like every episode is anti and negative. And I've been seeing a couple of different things, here in my private. So on this one, I'm gonna switch up a little bit and talk about good police, the good that the police do. Not necessarily all the bad stuff that they do. I'll try to keep the negative comments to a minimum, but I will share some of my insights on this subject. So let's get started. Okay, first off, let's read what God has to say in the King James Version of the Bible about police, okay? And then let's see. Let every soul be subject unto the higher powers, for there is no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. So therefore, that means government. That means, authority figures. There's got to be some type of authority so that there's not chaos in the world. Whosoever therefore resisteth the power, resisteth the ordinance of God. So when you go against the government or the authority figures, you're actually going against God himself. Okay, and they that resist shall receive themselves damnation. So they're going to unleash some terribleness on you when you start to resist the authority that's ordained in the world. When you resist, you're looking for trouble. For the rulers are not a terror to good works. Okay, let's analyze that line. For the rulers are not a terror to good works, meaning you're trying to obey the laws of God, the Bible. But they don't want you reading the Bible, and therefore that's why this is so important. But to the evil, will thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. For he is the minister of God to thee for good. But if thou do that which is evil, be afraid. For he beareth not the sword, i.e. the gun, in vain. For he is the minister of God, a revenger to execute wrath upon him that doeth evil. Okay. So I want to bring you to the next slide. Oh, it got cut off. Wow. I'm sorry. Let me see if I can make this. Well, I'll put the link in the description to this particular video. The cropping was bad. Man, I always have a problem with cropping. Anyway, the link to this description is this picture here of a good policeman that he made at a stop because a guy was carrying a weapon around, and other concerned citizens called it in to say, hey, this dude is walking around with like an automatic rifle. So these two police officers show up to find out what's really going on. And I'm not going to tell you the rest of it. I would rather that you go watch the video. And I got to give kudos to this police officer here that he did his job. He knew the law. He advised the citizen of certain things. I didn't even watch the whole thing. I just watched a couple minutes of it. That was enough for me because I saw it right at the beginning. So I'm not sure. I'm going to go watch it. As a matter of fact, the whole thing, it's like a long video. But I just want to point out how the officer, first off, what I see in this photo is a man. So this man has rights under Genesis 1:26. Also, what I see is that this man with rights has chosen to risk his life for the protection of our property and for ultimately our physical protection of our bodies and us. So it's just a shame how good policemen get the short end of the stick, so to speak, because people hate police because some officers are not doing things correctly, and the good always seems to pay for the evil. So it's just I just find it a shame that this happens quite a bit. For me, there's some things I agree with when it comes to police officers and other things I don't agree with. Now, when it comes to the violence and people trying to break into your home and do a bunch of things that they're not ought to, yes, we definitely need the police in that instance. But when it comes to them they're being forced by their superiors, because okay, let's look at the next slide. According to Romans chapter 12:18, it tells us in the King James Bible, if it be possible, as much as lieth in you, live peaceably with all men. So we are commanded here to live as peaceful with men as possible. You know, try not to. Oh, okay, I think I did. See here, yeah, there it is. Live peaceable with all men as possible. However, the problem is that these police officers have it they're kind of trapped because they're stuck between a rock and a hard spot. Because a friend of mine is officer. He's a captain. I'm not going to tell you who and where he's at because, you know, I want to protect his identity, but he's a captain. So that means he's up there pretty good. He's a pretty, you know, and then he told me that before they get their gun and their badge, they have to swear the oath to the Constitution, which everybody knows. But there is issues that are there that are unseen by us because a lot of the police officers, the quotas are placed on them. They got to get so many traffic stops, because that's the corporation side of what's really going on. So there's good and bad mixed in together, and that's what makes these police makes their job extremely hard. And I want to guide you guys to this. Now, a good description of what goes on in a police officer's life is the movie called Serpico. Now, for the younger viewers, you might not know of this movie because it might have passed your radar. So you would have to be, this was in 73, so that's 34. You'd have to be at least 34 to know about this movie. So you got to be in the older generation. We know about this movie where the youngsters kind of don't know unless you're a movie buff. But this movie right here tells the story. It's a true life story, as a matter of fact, of this guy named Serpico. I'm not going to tell you what it is because I'd rather you go see it. If you go check out I'm going to put a lot of links in the description. If I can find a link to the movie, I'll try to link up to the movie. But this is a true life story of what went down in the 70s, and the police officers are put in they're put between a rock and a hard spot because they have to serve the public, but at the same time they're being pressured depending on who's their superiors, because every town and city is different. However, it's too much to handle in this video. I'm not going to get into it because, it'll be more negative than positive. I'm trying to stay positive on this video. But a police officer his job, his mandate is to protect property, and their authority comes from us, we the people. So you see right there? Now, when you hold this particular document right here, when you hold this document, it tells you that you have authority. Now, and if used properly, according to the Constitution, and here's the state of California of 1849, it tells us, let's read what the Constitution of 1849 says. In Article 1, Section 1, all men are by nature free and independent, so we're free, and have certain inalienable rights, among which those are of enjoying and defending life and liberty, acquiring possession, and protecting property. Well, if you didn't know it, your rights, that's your property. Your right to liberty, that's your property. There's physical property, and then there's tangible property. There's like intellectual. You know how they have the copyrights. Like they say that They make a movie and then you use their footage without their consent. See, they're guarding their intellectual property. That's why YouTube is so hard on copyright. See, because it's their property. And pursuing and obtaining safety and happiness. In Section 2, it says, all political powers inherent in the people, which is what I just showed you. That there's a document out there called a passport that stipulates that we're the people. Also, here in California, because I'm giving you where I'm at, somewhat, California Government Code 100. Now, I didn't get that in here like I should have, because I would love to show it to you, but I'm going to go ahead and put it in the description. And let me see here if I can find it real quick. That way I can read exactly what it says. Because California Government Code 100, it tells you, it actually tells us that. Okay, hold on. Let me pull it up because I don't want to half step. Okay, let me see here. And I'm going to put a link in the description to this so that you guys can go read it for yourself. And I want to read exactly what it says. I don't want to. Okay, here we go. Let me pull it up. All right. It says, California Government Code 100. The sovereignty of the state resides in the people thereof, and all writs and processes shall issue in their name. B. The style of all processes shall be the people of the state of California, and all prosecutions shall be conducted in their name and by their authority. So that means that we, the people, have authority. But if you're not claiming to be the people, then you're kind of relinquishing your authority. There was a video that I had seen recent, and this was recent, and that this young girl, her name was Corinne Gaines, that got stopped by the police. I think it was Baltimore police, and it went from a regular traffic stop to her wind up dying. She's 23 years old, and the cop was trying to ID her, and she refused to ID herself to him. Man, you got to remember, man, that these police officers, they don't know what's going on until a conversation ensues. So they're not mind readers. So if you can't just start, first off, he's got a gun and you don't. So that's already not a good situation, because you don't know what has happened to this guy earlier that day. He might have got chewed out by his boss, or he could be having a bad day. Or, man, if you want to protect your life, you better not mouth off to the police officers, but you got to let them know who you are. Now, in that particular circumstance, she knew that she had rights, but she didn't verbally articulate those rights to the officer, which escalated from a regular traffic stop to her being killed. So that was just totally unnecessary. And then she kept antagonizing the police officer. I'm putting a link in the description so you can go watch it. She kept antagonizing the police officer. And first off, you can't antagonize them. Don't do that. Don't antagonize the police, because they already got a lot on their mind, first off. Second of all, when the police officer stops you, and this is just me saying this, and by all means, do your own research. I do not take liability on anybody following my video here. You know, everything's done at your own risk, because you got to understand, you got to know and have knowledge of the law as I have knowledge of the law. So do your own research and be smart about things. But this is what I would say on a police encounter. First off, I'm going to need your name, your badge number, your surety bond number. I need you to identify yourself to me of who you are. I'm so-and-so of the police. Yes, I understand that. I see the uniform, a gun and a badge. However, I'm going to need to make sure that you are who you say you are, because you want to identify me. Well, I need to see your driver. I don't own a driver's license. I don't need a driver's license. I already have what's called liberty in Article 1, Section 1 of the California Constitution, 1849. And I'm not going to trade a right called liberty for a privilege called driving commercially, which I'm not in a commercial vehicle. I am not charging any type of fees to utilize the public highways, which are there for my benefit. Article Section 2 of the same Constitution stipulates this, that the government is instituted for our benefit, for the benefit of the public. All political power is inherent in the people. Government is instituted for the protection, security, and benefit of the people. So what you need to do is have yourself what's called the passport. You need to go get that passport, and that's separate. That's different from a license. That way you can identify yourself to the police officer, because once they see that you have a passport and it says right on there in big-ass letters, "We the people," then they're going to think twice. They're going to say, wow, yes. Now, I have a friend that is a captain in the police force, and he told me, man to man, I had to raise my hand and swear an oath to the Constitution to uphold it. So therefore, he said that he had to swear to uphold the trust indenture called the Constitution. Now, you have one in your state, and then you have a federal one. And each one backs up. The state one came after the federal one, unless you were in the first original 13 colonies when they rolled over here from England. So, first off, don't argue with the police, because like I say, he got a gun and you don't. Then you let them know, look, I need your surety bond number, because that's your insurance card to me. The authority that you use to stand there with that badge and that gun, you're getting authority from me and the billions of other men and women out here that gave you the authority to stand there, running around in a police car. That's what you're doing, and you got to let him know, if you intend to cause me harm, you intend to kidnap me, i.e., arrest me by force, because a lot of them do that. If you intend to destroy my property, or i.e., impound the car, steal it, all of that is going to be, you're going to be liable for all of that on that insurance bond that's sitting back there. Then I'm going to have to make a claim against your surety bond, and potentially you won't be a police officer anymore. Now, what the outcome is, I don't know, because they're not just going to readily give you money. You better believe that. But the smart ones are going to know that you're trouble. You're like, oh, this dude is going to cause me some trouble. He's going to mess up my livelihood. Yes, exactly. But, and this is what works for me. This is what has been working for me. I always give them an escape hatch. I never close it up. You always got to give the other guy a chance to admit, or in a roundabout way, hey, I made a mistake. Okay, sir. I think this is a mistake, because see, mistakes are allowed in the court proceedings, because we all make mistakes. We're all sinners. That's why the Bible says that we are all sinners, that no one is righteous. So that's Romans chapter 3:10. No one is righteous. That's how that woman should have handled it, but she handled it wrong, and it ultimately cost her life. She didn't understand all the inner workings of the law. Now, when you come to that officer and you ask for his surety bond, whether he knows it or not, he won't be a police officer anymore, because if he can't get insurance, because their insurance company won't insure him, how's he going to be a police officer? Every public servant and civil servant has those surety bonds in place in case they cause some type of death or things of that nature. But because you don't know the law, they normally get to sweep the rug on a lot of stuff. But like I say, if you give them a way out and you don't corner them and box them in, because this woman, she was just being belligerent with the police. All she had to do is show that dude her ID, and she would still be alive today. But she was, they come on YouTube here, they start watching videos, they see other people doing it, but they don't have the knowledge that the other guy has, and they think, oh, well, I saw it on you. No, that's not going to work. I'm going to tell you right now, don't be testing these people, because as I read earlier, let me read it again. Earlier in the video, I'm just going to say it, that God put these powers in place for a reason. For the rulers are not a terror to good works, which means cooperation, because, they're risking their lives to protect us and our property. So they are serving the public for a good cause. Now, some get corrupted along the way, but that's a separate issue. I'm not going to get into that. But to evil. So if you start doing evil, like resisting, it tells you right there, whoever so resists the power. The policemen, believe it or not, they're working under the Constitution, but the Constitution is under the Bible. Genesis 1:26. That's why that Bible is important. I'm telling you guys, because back in the old days, like in the 1800s, they had two law books on their mantle. It was the Bible, and then there was laws of that particular year. But since the invention of the television, that there's a distraction there, la-di-da. I'm not going to get into that, but yeah, back in the day, the Bible was a core book. Anyway, this video is a positive one. I'm trying to stay as positive as I can instead of always being negative. So I got yelled at by one of my one dude on the things. Stop making these negative videos. And then I had another comment saying, well, we need a video to tell us how to fix it. Well, the way to fix it is this. Realize that the county clerk, the governor, he's a head magistrate, by the way, of the state, the local police officer. I mean, I'm going to assume that dude is married and he's got children and he has a mortgage and he needs his livelihood. He needs to earn his keep, because we're all working to earn our keep. So don't make that guy's job that much more difficult, because in the end, he's got guns, man. They got guns and stuff, man. You'll get hurt. We got the Second Amendment and all, but they're going to shoot first and ask questions later, man. So don't go, challenging their authority, because they have a very hard, risky job. So you got to remember that. So be as cooperative as you can. And like I say, sometimes they get out of hand, and I don't condone that. So don't think that. And I just want everybody listening, my audience, and the other dudes, and you know who you are. You know who I'm talking about. I just want to say this, that I'm not anti-government. I'm anti-corruption. Now, I'm not anti-government. When I read the Bible, I'm reading the whole thing, and I'm not just picking parts that are necessarily good for me and leaving everything else behind. No. It says there for me to pay taxes, and it says there for me to respect authority of the authority figures, which I intend to do both. But what I don't condone is the corruption. Now, for the lady that asked, we need a video to see how we can fix it. Well, that's the thing. First off, ma'am and sir, because it was a girl, but it could be men too, get your passport. If you guys want your rights and you guys want to have your voice back, get your passport. Become part of the people and start showing up to work. Because, okay, one final thing before I cut you guys loose. There's going to be a link in the description of this one video. And did you know that under the California Penal Code, Section 837, it gives us the right to initiate a citizen's arrest? We have the right to arrest another citizen when we witness a crime being committed in our presence. It also gives you the right to arrest a citizen when you don't see the crime in your presence. Okay? So, when the cop intends to violate your constitutional rights, whether it be state, federal, or both, you have a right to have him arrested. You can arrest him as because you're the police. We are the cops. We are the authority. We're the power. It tells you right there, California Government Code 100, it tells you right there in the Constitution that all political power is inherited in the people. But if you're not the people, then you pretty much waived your authority to them. That's what's really going on. But anyway, that's a topic for a different discussion. I want to get back on track with cops. We need cops. Let me rephrase that. We need good police officers. Don't bundle up the dirty ones for the good ones and then have the good ones pay for the whole lot, because that's not fair. A good police officer, we need those guys, because to be honest with you, I don't want to be risking my life out there, man, because it's crazy. Can you imagine if it's this bad with police officers? Can you imagine when the law enforcement is removed? It's not good. Don't buy into all the fear mongering and they're trying to scare you and not it because you got to remember that Satan is tricky. He's going to use every tactic in the book to get you to rebel against God. Don't do that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and end this video with this. Don't persecute the local police officers. They're men and women, and they have livelihoods, and they got a lot of issues and problems. And if a lot of them don't know about Jesus, then it makes it very difficult. That's a very difficult job, and I don't think I could do it for a living. So we gotta help the good police out. Now, there's a lot of other stuff going on in there, and that stuff I don't condone, but that's kind of out of my hands. And we need to pray for these men and these authority figures because we need them in there, okay? Anyway, that's my 2 cents on this topic, and I hope some of the information that I spoke of in this video will help some of you out there. Please don't get yourself hurt. God has ordained these people. They're acting upon his authority, believe it or not. Read your Bibles. And don't go by what I say. Go learn this stuff for yourselves. Because when we pass away, it's going to be us and Jesus. Jesus will judge us based upon our workings and our works here on earth as when we were alive. And I'm just obeying my master. My master called Jesus Christ. He commanded me to love my neighbor as thyself. Love thy neighbor as thyself. That's what I'm doing. So that's why I release these videos, because I'm trying to give insight to others that may not have, the insight that I do. So, and I want to thank all my subscribers that are subscribing, and thank you guys for hanging out with me. That's great that I'm starting to see the numbers go up. And okay, and just one final thought before I go. I got some inside stuff I'm not going to reveal, but I'm being told by certain things, and I put 2 and 2 together, and I figured it out. Look, I have to earn my keep. There's certain topics that I can't really discuss, which is kind of a drag because let me put it this way. The last video I put up kind of bit the hand that was feeding me. So I can kind of understand why certain things occurred a certain way. With that said, what I'm going to wind up doing is I created a separate channel, and it's called Real Talk Product Reviews. And in that channel, I'll start doing reviews of different products. I'll be the Ralph Nader of the internet. And I'm going to give my 2 cents on the value of the product, the pros and cons of the product, and I'll strictly stay to the product and what my 2 cents is about that particular product. So that should be coming up shortly. That was the best way that I could figure on being honoring God first and then man second. Because, I didn't want to convert this channel from what I'm speaking of into something else. So I went and made a separate channel. And at some point, I'm going to do all the stuff I need to do to legitimize it so that IRS can get what their cut, so to speak, which is fine. Whatever. It is what it is. I'm not even going to go, because there's a way for me not to pay taxes, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to follow the Bible and give to Caesar what is his. No problem. Anyway, so I might divert some of the traffic from this channel over to the next if you guys can help me out over there. And then maybe instead of always talking about these negative topics, I can start talking about some positive ones, So, I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, this is Real Talk. And I'm going to wrap up this video. And I'm going to catch up with you guys next time.